Complainers don't win and winners don't complain. Hi, everybody. Kendall here with the Wealthy Legacy Journey. Super excited to have you here for today's episode. That's the title of today's episode, though, is Complainers Don't Win and Winners Don't Complain. And I want to talk to you guys about some of the things that I've seen in winners in business and, just observing life around me. You can look at the people competing at the Olympics this year, and, just where their mindset at, like, where is the mindset of the elite of their category? Like, where are the mindset of the winners? And, just to break that down really quickly before I talk about, what specifically I've experienced this week that is kind of in relation to that statement. If you're focused on what didn't go right, if you're focused on the uncontrollables, then you're never going to be able to take that level of responsibility that you need to in those situations in order to take a hold of the situation, own it, and move forward with power, strength, and victory. So that's why complainers don't win. On the other side, winners don't complain because they take control of the moment. They take control of the situation. They say, you know what, that may have not gone as well in that specific circumstances I would have liked it to, but what are we going to do moving forward in order to become a winner? How are we going to improve? How are we going to pivot? How are we going to learn from the pain in order to create future success? And that really has been kind of the beat of the drum of my career as an investor in real estate and stocks and, everything else that I've been a part of. I feel like if you have a moment where you lose, you obviously have something to learn. So you can either choose to complain about that situation, or you can choose to go, okay, let me break down what just happened in that situation that hurt me. Why did my hand burn when I touched the hot pot? What about that situation? Like, oh, the pot is hot. That's why my hand got burned, versus just saying, like, oh man, like somebody shouldn't have put that hot there, and oh, metal shouldn't get hot, and somebody shouldn't have turned on the burner, and this and that and the other. Whereas you could say, okay, what can I do going forward so I make sure that my hand doesn't get burned? And it's just been interesting being inside of the trading classroom with a bunch of other people. Just in transparency, we've lost about a third of our portfolio value in 2.5 weeks. It was absolutely devastating. There was about a 10 or so percent market pullback, maybe a little bit more, just depending on which index you're looking at, and just as massive pullback in the market, 10 to 15%, depending on which index you're looking at. Extremely painful, and we basically jumped into the deep end right at the top before it pulled back. It's been interesting though, because there's been a lot of people inside the classroom that have complained about the results, and they've blamed the teacher for the results. And, on one hand, I guess I could understand the frustration, because don't get me wrong, like I was frustrated about that situation as well. But I had to take a step back and go, okay, but what can I learn going forward? Because here's the deal. Is the entirety of my career as a trader going to be based on my teacher always giving me the trades and the setups, and I'm always having to be dependent on them? Or am I trying to train up so I can become an independent investor, an independent stock market trader? Right. And that's exactly what I've done in real estate as well. Like, I've trained myself up to the point where it's like, okay, I have to fly the nest and become an independent real estate operator, real estate investor. But with that being said, I have to be able to own my mistakes and say, what can I learn from what went wrong from that pain point? So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I ended July of 2024 feeling small, feeling stupid, feeling scared, feeling all of these negative emotions, right? And I just, July was a very rough month for me as an investor. We had just gotten settled into our home. We were looking to make, a big win out of the gate. That's honestly what I wanted to see. I wanted to just crank one out of the park and just show myself that, hey, even though we went through all this pain, this difficulty at the front part of this year, this huge transition of moving my family from a 1,600 square foot house into a 4 foot fifth wheel, like it was going to be worth it, because I just had this huge win. And instead, I lost a third of my portfolio value. I lost $10,000 in roughly 3 weeks. Oh, I guess now it's 3 weeks of trading. That was devastating. And I thought, am I ever going to get ahead? Or is the path that I'm on just destined for failure, destined for another dead end? Because as you guys know that have been following the show for any sort of length of time, this is my third time to try to build something up. We are doing things differently this time. And one of the things that I'm really having to learn is the value and the importance of just taking those base hits when they come. And it was interesting because I had some time of reflection over this past week and I took a step back and I started looking at my habits in my life. And currently, I've just slipped into some bad habits: stress eating, staying up late and waking up late, waking up groggy, because typically my schedule would be going to bed by like 9:30, 10 o'clock at the latest, waking up at 6 a.m. sharp, quiet time, maybe a little bit of a walk before my day got started. Whereas lately, that 10's been pushing like 10:30, 11, 11:30. I haven't been getting out of bed until like 7, 7:30, right when the kids are starting to wake up. So I'm waking up into the kids waking up. I don't have time for quiet time and to walk and to get in for pre-market at 8 a.m. to be ready for an 8:30 open if I'm trading the stocks that day or if I'm real estate that day. I don't have a good time to just get my mind at a strong mental bearing before I jump into the deep end of the day. And so I was like, okay, staying up late, waking up late, a bad habit that I've developed. It's hard coming off of a really big, stressful, difficult season of downsizing everything. Because in that season, I was so strict because I had to take advantage of every single second that every single day offered me. Like we weren't watching TV on the weekends. We had no free time. I wasn't staying up late because I was waking up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to work on my house every day, right? Because it was like sun up to sundown, just getting stuff done, being efficient, completing tasks, getting stuff knocked out. And so I felt this little bit of freedom because it was like, oh my gosh, it was such a suffocating season, but I can't fall into those bad habits, and then this stress eating of just trying to figure out, and then another thing is like watching TV every night. Like if you guys know, I've been really dedicated for the last year, except for, the last few weeks, of making sure that TV stays on the weekend only. And I'm educating myself and I'm learning as we go through the weeks. But I was so exhausted because like literally weren't watching any TV, weren't having any downtime, no relaxing time, that it's like now I feel like I've fallen into this slump that I'm struggling to get out of. Like I want to watch TV every night. To be honest with you guys, I want to watch TV every moment that I'm like awake. I want to be able to just escape the pain, the difficulty, and the exhaustion that I'm feeling right now. I want to stress eat because I want something nice in my life. And that's why I used to be 250 pounds, is because I turned to food as an outlet for something nice. But, we're in this point in our life right now where we've really buckled down our finances. We're waiting on some investments to come through so we can build up our fund money. And so it's like I can't spend, like there's nothing I can do in the realm of spending money because I'm not giving myself money to spend. And I've had so many people tell me like, Kendall, you got to just lax up on your budget a little bit. But it's like, no, the place I get my free money from has to be my investments. Like that needs to be my positive reward. And so I'm going through this pain. I am purposely putting myself through this pain. And believe me, guys, it's excruciating sometimes. But I'm coming back to that idea, that mentality of complainers don't win and winners don't complain. Yes, I've been through a difficult season. I stepped back and I evaluated, okay, where are my habits at right now? At the end of last week, beginning of this week, I started making some transitions. At one point, I was just feeling really overwhelmed, lots of cooped up energy, really frustrated and angry. So I went for a mile run. I haven't ran in months. I finished the Expert Secrets book, which was really great, at least to the point that, at the very end, like the last, I don't know, quarter of the book, third of the book, something like that. It's where you're actually like building the presentation. I don't need to build the presentation right now. It's just getting an idea for like, okay, what's the roadmap for the American Dream or Lie going to look like? And so I finished that book to the point that I was looking to get to. So that felt like a huge win. And I'm now going, okay, I need to organize the rest of my books. I need to put together a game plan. I need to start making my way through these books. I need to start implementing healthy habits back in my life. But it was interesting because I actually put on these notes that I said I got the rest of my books in order for a stronger push. And that's not actually what happened. I put that down because it's what I meant to happen. But literally, guys, like put the kids to bed every night. And then I'm just going straight to the TV and I'm like checking out because I am so done. And I will watch TV um, until I go to sleep at night. And it's embarrassing to say that. It's difficult. It's difficult to say like I'm slipping into these bad habits of stress eating. I'm slipping into these bad habits of like watching TV, so much TV, because that's not helping me progress forward at all. But I am mentally zapped. Like I'm struggling to figure out how do I break out of this rut. But I was frustrated along with everybody else in that classroom with some of these trades and losing so much of my portfolio value over the last 3 weeks. And I realized that again, complainers don't win and winners don't complain. And so I stepped back and I said, hey, you know what? Instead of complaining about not liking how some of these things worked out, what if I step back and I just evaluate the situation, right? I decided with this situation, I could do one of two things. One, I could complain about my results. I could get upset at the teacher. I could quit the class. I could quit learning. I could quit moving forward. Even though I know deep down I've learned tons and tons and tons of information, it's been an extremely volatile market right now. And you know what? A lot of people have experienced a lot of pain with all of that money flushing out of the market. So I could just complain about results and say, you know what, this thing's a scam. These guys are liars. Like they're just here to steal your money. And I could just cut and run, right? Or I could make observations and learn. I could start digging into what is the macroeconomics that's happening right now. And I've learned a lot about the carry trade from the yen to the USD and how that's affected the global markets. I've learned about how raising interest rates in Japan is going to positively affect the Chinese currency, which I believe is the yen, and about how the increased usage of the Chinese currency will strengthen that currency. And as money is flushing away from the United States, and if we begin to lower our interest rates in September, that the value of the dollar will come down, how that weakens our economy, and it starts creating this like level play field. Today, I was doing some, research and understanding into the yield curves on 2-year and 10-year Treasury bonds and how that inversion or the correction of those yield rates, what that means for the market, what that's meant for the markets over time. I'm getting into a lot of content by George Gammon, who's a part of the Rich Dad Poor Dad network, on some of the things that he teaches. He's an influencer kind of in that spectrum. He's got a lot of great insight into macroeconomics. I've been following him for a while. So it's like, okay, I need to understand what just happened. Why did this thing just happen? I actually had a lot of insight, and I'm not going to go into it all here because honestly, I'm probably not the best teacher for it at this time as I'm still learning it myself. But it's super fascinating stuff, and it gives me this realization like, oh, that's what just happened. Oh, that's why it just happened. And oh, this is what we can expect moving forward because of what just happened. And it was interesting. And so, yeah, step number one is I can complain about my results. Step number two, I can make observations and learn. And so something else that I learned is I created this, I call it the VIX spectrum. And basically inside of this spectrum, I rated the VIX if it was anywhere from 10 to like less than or equal to 10, all the way to greater than equal to 70. And there's several, stops along the way, 14, 16, 17, 20, 45, and 70 or greater. And, through there going, okay, what is my risk tolerance at those levels? Like as the market's falling apart, where does my mental capacity need to go in the market? And what does my risk tolerance look like on each of those trades? Specifically, I was looking at, okay, intraday trading, swing trading, like, weekly swing trading, and then, or like multi-day swing trades, and then long-term value investing. And, I just did this and I put alerts on the chart and I just mentally preparing myself for like any time, and I even said like, okay, next time that the VIX goes to 45, next time that the VIX, it popped all the way up to 60, I literally have an alert that in there that says, I know you're experiencing a lot of pain right now, but now is the time to look for bargain basement deals. And, inside of stocks. And, I learned that institutions, whenever the VIX is high, they are net seller of options, net purchasers of stocks. And whenever the VIX is low, they are net purchasers of options and net sellers of stock. And so it's just learning those things and going, how do I not fight the current, but how do I instead, go with the current, understand, how do I learn, how do I grow? And just looking at this situation from the last few weeks and go, was this a great market that they were losing money in when they shouldn't have been losing money and everybody else was making money? Or was this a tough market where everybody lost money and they were making the absolute best decisions that they could around them, what they were doing? And it was just a huge learning experience for me, right? Because going back to the very beginning of what I said, those times in life where I experience the most pain tend to be the moments in life where I learn the most. When everything's going right, that's great, but what are you actually learning? Right? What are your big takeaways? Like, what feels good. You're like, oh, let's just keep doing this. But then all of a sudden, something's fundamentally going to break down about your thesis. It's going to cause you pain as you fall back, in this case, lose money, right? And then whenever you do that, you go, how do I need to change my thesis, the way that I'm looking at this situation in order to pivot and meet where the market's at right now? And was it a breakdown in my general understanding of how to trade, or is it a breakdown in the fundamental macroeconomics of the economy, which is, I think, from everything that I'm reading and seeing from multiple different people all over the spectrum of economics, that's what we're seeing right now. In fact, I stepped into this. I've known this for several years coming, which is why I've never allowed myself to get debt heavy into real estate. I was risk averse. I didn't want to carry that risk on my plate because of where the global economy is at. I didn't know how it was going to strike. I didn't know when it was going to strike, because I'm still learning a lot of information about macroeconomics, but I knew that I did not want to tangle myself up with a bunch of debt that could sour on me very, very quickly. So, this isn't going to be a long episode because it's been another long week for me, and I'm recording this on Friday afternoon. But I would say that again, guys, is that, and I'm saying this for myself too, is complainers don't win and winners don't complain. So for me, how do I have two kind of takeaways when I go to learn from somebody that I can do with that information. One, I can just complain about the results, say that they're a fraud and move on, or I can dig in and say, did I learn something? Did I earn some valuable knowledge through the pain? Is there observations that I can make moving forward and learn? Now, whether I should continue following them or not, that's, up for you to decide. I still think that this is a great coaching program to be a part of. I'm going to continue being a part of it, but I can tell you this, I stopped trading swing trades this week because I realized that multi-day swing trades are dangerous, because when the VIX is high, everybody's afraid. Everybody's just lost a lot of money. And so when bad news comes out, everybody reacts super quickly. When even okay news comes out, people are reacting quickly because they're going straight to worst case scenario. And so if you're in a multi-day swing trade setup, it could look perfect. Some okay news could come out, and that okay news will just completely demolish the entire trade because people are just so touchy in the market. And so I don't really want to be a part of multi-day swing trading a market like that. Then I look at a situation like intraday trading where it's like, okay, how much news can really come out in the next 2 hours? I mean, definitely it can, but as long as I'm avoiding like major news events that I know about, like major economic releases and things like that, I'm avoiding those in advance. I can do they had great success with intraday trading, but I started breaking those down and going, okay, over the last few weeks, the swing trades have gone miserably bad. The intraday trades have gone very, very well. And when the VIX is high, people are selling like crazy, and the value deals have been coming to the table like crazy. But I made another observation. So my main teacher, Nate Bear, one of my main teachers, I should say, he is primarily a swing trader. And he said at the beginning of the week, or at the beginning of the year, they were crushing it. He's had a couple weeks of just some falling off, not doing so great. And I realized as I was thinking about the VIX, and I was doing some reflection, right, into the pain that I've experienced. I was like, let me look back. What's happened to the VIX in the last, 5 years? What's happened to the VIX in the last year? And I made this interesting observation when I went back a year specifically. And I was like, oh, wow, October of 2023. So just for reference, it's August of 2024. In October of 2023, the VIX jumped up to 2025 for several days. It was like from the end of September to almost the end of October. So I guess it was almost a month. And then it dropped back down. And the VIX remained low through almost all of 2024 with a blip in April. And then I think then there was this blip here in July and August. And this one actually was a sky high soar, like I said, hit like 66 or something like that. Crazy on the fear index, right? It was interesting though to look at that and go, oh, like this guy said that all year he's been having so many great wins. In the last few weeks, he's been on a little bit of just struggling to get his bearings right. And I look at the VIX and go, it jumped in August, caused this market reset. Because about once a year, it drops about 10%. So that was kind of this, yearly flush out. And then from there, the VIX stayed low and the swing trades were great because the market wasn't volatile and you gave it time to just work itself out naturally in a logical progression. And I realized, actually, even saying this right now, if we go back to the fear spectrum that we learned about last week, where is it? I thought, yeah, here's the emotional spectrum that we talked about last week. In the middle is neutral, where logic thrives. And then from there, you can go to happy, you can go to disappointed. But you lose some logic there, but you have to come back to logic at neutral. But a dangerous place to ever go as an investor is excited and fearful. And the thing is what I've learned is when the VIX drops below about 14, especially if it drops below 10. Somebody said one time, this was not me, but they said basically the market's fat and happy and it's just going up. Everybody's excited. Everybody's feeling great. Everybody says that nothing can ever change. And they start making these bets over and over and over and over, betting that the great thing that's happening right now is going to continue happening forever. Well, when the VIX jumps up to 20, 45, 70 and above, people are getting scared out of their mind. And what do we remember about the emotional spectrum? Fear is where logic dies. And so even going back to those overnight swing trades, the multi-day swing trades, if something comes out, people are already in this fearful state where logic is dead, right? So okay news could come out, even good news could come out, and it spooks people, and that fear causes people to sell, sell, sell because logic is dead. But same when people are excited, right? There could be bad news coming out. I've heard for years now, economists talking about bad news coming up, bad news coming up, bad news on the horizon. There's negative things about the market, but the market continues to go up and up and up and up and up because people are in this excitement buying frenzy. And that is a place also where logic dies. So how do I stay in the middle, neutral as an investor? And how do I look for opportunities where there's pool of people that could also, and where the market's going to be at a stable place to think neutrally, or at least be on my side of, if anything, in a fearful market, when people are selling like crazy and logic is dead, now I understand that's why institutionals are net buyers of stocks and net sellers of options. Because they're selling options because they're super expensive and entering stocks when people are letting go of stupid deals, right? They're selling, they're selling a stock that's worth $100 easily for $60 a share, $70 a share. But then the other side, whenever the market's fat and happy, and we're on the excited side of the spectrum, well, now they're buying stocks that are only worth $100 for 130. So now I can buy calls because I know that the markets that's crazy enough to buy something for 130 is probably going to be crazy enough to buy it for 135, and I can make money on the calls, but I have little risk inside of that option, and I can be selling my stock positions that I bought at 70 for 130 because people are way overpaying. And so I just stepped back and I made that observation about VIX. I made that, observation about emotions and go, okay. So instead of, coming to this place like, oh, what was me? And I hate my coaches. I'm so upset at them and I blame them for these losses and all this kind of stuff. I go, no, I want to be a long-term stock trader. Like I really think this is what I want to do long-term, even more than real estate. I want to still do real estate because I find it fascinating. And to be honest, I want to do it all. And I probably stretch myself too thin, but unhealthy habits for another time. But I do find this game extremely intriguing. But I have to figure out how to play the game well if I don't want to lose the shirt off my back. So that's where I've created my VIX spectrum, and I'm not going to show it to anybody right now because it's super fresh and I have no idea if it's actually going to work or not, but I'm going to continue testing it over time. But my hypothesis at this time is when the VIX is high, I'm going to be looking to sell options in order to purchase stock and enter positions. Because if I sell options, I'm lowering my cost basis. And that's something I learned from Andy Tanner in the Cash Flow Academy, which I very much am planning to go back to because those are super brilliant, smart guys. And I'm very excited to get back learning their stuff again as well. If the market, and that's what I know institutions are doing that. So it's like, okay, that's what I should be doing as well. If the VIX is low, I need to be buying longer, calls and selling my stock positions. So, going to all that, it's interesting. Like, how do I make observations? This has kind of just been kind of my theme for the last few days. How can I make observations to help me go forward in strength instead of weakness? How do I make observations so I keep myself from burning my hand on the pot again, at least in the exact same way? Right? I might burn my hand on the pan, but at least I'm not going to burn my hand on the pot. I'm still a rookie at the stock market game, but I know that if I have enough coaches and I have enough mentors in my life that speak wisdom, not just buy, but they explain what's happening with the economy, why it's happening, and I work to actually understand the why as well. I'm going to be able to make better and better and better investment decisions. Um, so anyways, yeah, that's my takeaway from the week is, complainers don't win, winners don't complain. Went through a lot of tough stuff. But now I'm going, how do I observe? How do I learn? How do I take the pain and create, you couldn't pay for this training kind of learning opportunity where it's like I got to learn something incredibly valuable that one day I can use to make, tens of thousands of dollars, even though I lost $10,000 on it. I can use to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, even though I lost this 10 grand on it. Maybe even millions of dollars, even though I lost the 10 grand on it. How can I take a $10,000 lesson and turn it into a $10,000, $100,000, $1 million gain versus taking a $10,000 lesson, quitting, and saying anybody who makes market and money in the stock market's a scam. So, yeah, that's kind of my takeaways. I don't want to be a complainer. I want to be a winner. So I would encourage you guys right now just to make the decision not to be a complainer, but to be a winner. And whatever it is that you're working on. And, realize that whenever you go through a pain point in life, you have one of two things that you can do. You can either complain about your results and blame other people, or you can say, I'm going to take responsibility for this. How can I make observations? How can I learn so I can be better going forward? With all that said, guys, let's say our wealthy legacy journey identity mantra, and then we'll get out of here. I explore the unknown. I conquer new frontiers. My journey is powerful, and my wake is a wealthy legacy. And as a reminder, guys, the definition of wealthy, the way we define it here at the Wealthy Legacy Journey, is the ability to cover your monthly expense without having to lift a finger. It's not some crazy number that's absolutely unreachable. It's very simple. It's very achievable. And that is the focus of beginnings of wealth. And legacy is leaving a long-lasting impact on others who come after you as they receive the fruit of your labor, whether that fruit be good or bad. And the way that you produce good fruit is you plant good seeds, cultivate good trees in order to produce good fruit. So you got to ask yourself right now, is the seeds that you're planting in your life and the trees that you're cultivating on a day-to-day basis going to be what produce the fruit that you're looking for in 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, 25 years from now, and a legacy that's worth leaving behind? So with all that said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please please subscribe, please share the video. It really does help the algorithm. And with all that said, it's been another episode dedicated to you and your own personal wealthy legacy journey. So get out there, take the right next step this week. Don't be a complainer, be a winner, get it done. Make sure that you let me know about your success story in the comments. Message me. I would love to hear what's going on in your life, how you're succeeding, how you're winning, what your takeaways are, and what's going right. So with that said, guys, awesome hanging out with you, and I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye, everybody.